No, it's not a machine that goes through it. This is an actual person that will physically look through your resume to see if there is a fit for the role.
Let's jump right into the questions. So Thomas, can you tell me a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first and foremost, thanks for having me here, Young. A little bit about myself. I am a full life cycle recruiter here at Amazon. A little bit about my history here at Amazon. I actually started here about 4.5 years ago. I started as a recruiting coordinator. I did that for about 1.5 years, and then I actually transferred into a role, what is called a sourcer role. I did that for about 1.5 years again. And recently transitioned into a full life cycle recruiter here at Amazon. The team that I currently support is our hardlines team. To give you a bigger picture of what that looks like is we fall underneath the consumer organization. Specifically under the consumer org, it's the retail team and then the hardlines category within that retail org. So yeah, that's a little bit about kind of my history here at Amazon.
As a full life cycle recruiter, can you tell me a little bit more about like what you do?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, if I could break down in coordinator here at Amazon, your main responsibility is throughout the interview process is mostly handling the scheduling. So handling the logistical part of the interview process. So that's really what a recruiting coordinator does here at Amazon. Our sourcer here at Amazon, what they specifically do is they are reaching out to candidates to see if they are interested in pursuing any opportunities here at Amazon. Really kind of matching them with the roles, seeing if there's interest on both ends. As a full life cycle recruiter, which I'm doing now, you are not only doing what the sourcer is doing, but you are also walking the candidate through the process as well. So I am also doing a recruiting phone screen with them. I am also doing a prep call with them before they interview with Amazon. And throughout the entire process as well, I'm kind of checking in multiple times, kind of making sure that everything is going okay. One of the main things about a full lifecycle recruiter as well is that I will be handling the closing part of it as well. So me and the candidate will also be talking about the offer.
Can you share a little bit about the hiring process of Amazon?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a few steps for the entirety of the interview process here at Amazon. So initially, you will start off speaking with a recruiter. Typically, a recruiter will have a recruiter phone screen with you just to get a gauge of kind of what your interests are, kind of, where your interest lies, where you see yourself, where your skill sets are. So after having that initial phone call with the recruiter, there's really 3 other steps that you're going to go through. 2 phone screens. One phone screen will typically be with somebody that's doing the job now, or possibly somebody that's a colleague of yours should you end up accepting the role. The other phone screen would then be with the hiring manager. Depending on the team, it goes either way, right? You could talk to the manager first and then the colleague second, or it could go vice versa.
Okay.
Should those 2 conversations go well, during these times right now, that portion of the interview is obviously happening through video conference. But at that stage of the point, you are going to be interviewing or meeting with about 4 to 5 different individuals from the team. After that, the team gets together, makes their decision, and that's kind of the entirety of the process. So if you think about it in totality, you're looking at 2 phone screens, 1 on-site interview with the team, and a couple probably conversations with the recruiter throughout the process.
How does resumes get screened? I know a lot of the audience are probably interested in that part as well, because as a candidate, you feel like your resumes are ending up in like a huge black hole. So just wanted to know like how it's screened. Is there any mechanism or a system that kind of automatically screens them, or is it like real people who actually read them all?
Yeah, that's a great question. So just to kind of give you a bigger context of kind of what it looks like after you hit apply online, right? So once you apply to a role, what it goes is each one of the recruiters, whatever recruiter is assigned to that specific role, each and every day we get an alert in our system that shows, hey, these are the new applicants. So we do look at those every day. No, it's not a machine that goes through it. This is an actual person that will physically look through your resume to see if there is a fit for the role. So that's one way of kind of applying to the roles here at Amazon. Another way is obviously a lot of candidates probably have recruiters reaching out to them. That is because these recruiters are already doing a screen of your resume prior to reaching out. So me personally speaking, when I reach out to candidates, I have already taken a look at the resume, whether it's on LinkedIn or whether it's in our database here at Amazon. I'm already reaching out with the interest, knowing that there could be a potential match. Okay? Now, after that stage is completed, it goes through another set of eyes, which is always the hiring manager. The hiring manager will always review the candidate's resume prior to kicking off the process. So you're really going to have two different sets of eyes on your resumes even before you start the process. And so that's kind of the initial stages of, okay, hey, is this person a match for this role? So those are kind of the steps that are being taken.
Interesting. I thought it was just like a robot who's, like just screening all these resumes. So
No,
that's really good to know.
Yeah, one question that I get a lot from candidates is, hey, are there keywords that I should be adding into my resume so that it gets pulled out from whatever system is going through? Not so much here at Amazon. Because individually each person is looking at the resume, there isn't one or two specific words that you could put in that'll make your resume stand out more than the other.
Sure.
Right? It's the overall resume itself that the recruiter and the team is going to be looking at.
Got it. So I guess more of a follow-up question. So does a referral work?
Yeah, great question. So referrals work. Absolutely, they work. One of the biggest source of candidates that we get here at Amazon is going to come through referrals. I don't have the percentage on top of mind right now, but the amount of hires we get is through employee referrals, to be honest with you. And so referrals is highly recommended, whether it's through candidates or actual employees. It's something that we encourage, something that we always ask for candidates, to see if they have any colleagues or anybody in their network that might be a fit for the role. So we're always looking for referrals, and we're always encouraging candidates to refer candidates.
You mentioned something about the phone screening. Will you please share what you usually ask during your phone screening with the candidate?
I wouldn't really call it a phone screen. I would really call it a get to know session, right? Okay. At least the initial call that I have with the candidate. It's more so the types of questions that I'll ask on that initial call is me more than anything wanting to learn a little bit about them, right? So tell me about yourself, right? Tell me about what you've been doing the past couple of years. What do you think are some of the skill sets that really stand out for you that you think are transferable to Amazon? Where do you see yourself in 5 years? What are you looking for an IC role? Are you looking for a people manager role? So these are the kind of questions that I will initially start with. Because again, what I'm trying to accomplish on that initial call is, okay, do I have a match for you, for a candidate, right? In terms of what your interests are. And so after that initial phone call, then obviously you're going to go through a more intense phone call with the business, right? You have 2 phone screens with the business. To get a little bit more in depth about those phone screens, here at Amazon, it's really going to boil down to 2 different types of questions that are going to be kind of covered during these phone interviews, right? One is going to be a case study type question, and then the other is going to be a behavioral type question. Okay. Case study type question. So this is like a business situational type question, right?
Sure.
Something that you may very well face in your day-to-day here at Amazon, should you accept the role. And they're going to want to see how you maneuver around it, right? If we were to plop you into that situation, how are you going to react? How are you going to solve the issue? What actions are you going to take? So that's one of the types of questions that they're going to ask. The other types of questions that they're going to ask are going to be these behavioral type questions, right? So questions like, tell me about a time when, can you give me an example of when, right? So really relying on your past experiences and your past examples. So those are going to be the 2 main questions or types of questions that are going to be asked during the phone interview process. But again, to go back to my initial call with the candidate, that's more of a get to know session. Nothing that you need to prepare for, more of a kind of a, hey, do you have questions for me? Let me help answer any questions for you.
Like, have you ever rejected a person after like initial get to know session?
Yeah, great question. So I wouldn't, maybe reject is not the right word.
Yeah, sorry.
I think, no, that's okay. I think there are times where we take a step back and reevaluate what we're looking at, right? It's not uncommon. Like a lot of the conversations I'll jump on, maybe the role that I was initially kind of attaching them to, maybe it's not the right fit after I had that call, right? So what we do then is take a step back. Obviously here at Amazon, we have lots of different roles, lots of different teams, right? For everybody, right? And so at that point in time, then we just kind of regroup. We kind of see what options are out there. What are you interested in? Do any of these other roles interest you more? Whether it's on my team, whether it's on another recruiter's team, or whether it's in a totally different organization. Here at Amazon, we work all across the board. So, I can easily reach out to another team if my team isn't the right fit.
Any do's and don'ts?
do's and don'ts in terms of just kind of the whole interview process in general?
Yeah.
Okay. A couple come to mind. For do's, here at Amazon, we love data, analytics, metrics, right? We really thrive on that. And so anytime you could add data or metrics to your resume is good. But anytime that you go through the phone interview process, the interview process, and you're able to speak to numbers, you're able to speak to data, you're able to speak to metrics, that is going to be a huge benefit for you throughout the process. Our team really loves to hear, just in general, specific numbers, metrics to support whatever project you're on, whatever program you're on, whatever client or vendor you're working with. That's something I really emphasize when I have these conversations with candidates, right? Another thing that I really encourage is leadership principles. I cannot emphasize enough the leadership principles here at Amazon.
Yes.
We have 14 of them here at Amazon. We really, truly live and breathe by these leadership principles. Really ingrained in our DNA, just everything that we do here at Amazon. So with that said, no, I don't encourage you to you don't have to write customer obsession or dive deep or bias for action in your resume, but I would speak to them. I would have, stuff that support those leadership principles in your resume, but not only that, but really speak to those as you are going through the interview process. Those are two things that really stand out to me in terms of things that you would be a benefit. A couple things that I don't recommend. First one, don't speak in we, always speak in I. The team is looking to see what you did. What were your accomplishments? What was your effect on the project? What was your responsibilities throughout the entire process? I know it's very common, I'm guilty of this as well, to speak in we. We did this, my team did this, my group did this. But really try to get used to saying I. We really want to know what you did, what your responsibilities were. Another thing I like to recommend trying not to do as you go through the interview process is communication style. And what I mean by that is try not to be long-winded with your answers, or don't be overly verbose. I think a lot of people tend to think, maybe let me throw everything at them, right? And hopefully something will stick with them, right? Something I don't recommend doing here at Amazon. You want to be concise with your answers. You want to be short and sweet. There's nothing wrong with that, right? And so that's something that I also recommend and very highlight as they go through the interview process as well.
Got it. Did a question from an interviewee ever change your decision? Or not you, but the other people's decision?
So I like to start, whenever I have these conversations with candidates, I want to always emphasize that, hey, I'm a partner with you throughout this process. I am no point in time am I evaluating you, interviewing you, or anything like that. At the end of the day, my job is to partner with you to make sure that I find you a great role here at Amazon, right? So to answer your question, I really don't think there's a bad question that could be asked.
Okay.
I'm in a position to answer and clarify anything for you that'll either clarify, paint a clearer picture, just make the process easier for you. So I guess to answer your question, no, I haven't been in a situation where I've been asked something that will either change my mind or deter me from moving forward. Obviously at the end of the day, I want to make sure if they are confused or have anything, that I'm there to kind of paint that clearer picture for you, right?
Okay.
And so, so that's kind of the approach that I take in terms of questions. I don't know if that answered your question.
No, that's really good. I guess this actually ties into good questions and bad questions, but I guess in terms of your answer, there are no bad questions. It's just questions or no questions.
Yeah, and then some questions that I always encourage candidates to ask once they get on the phone with the candidate or with somebody from the business is this: take advantage of it. There's nothing more that you could get out of, even if you have a 5-10 minutes of opportunity to ask them questions, take advantage of it, right? So ask them what their history here at Amazon is like. Ask them what they like about Amazon. Ask them what they don't like about Amazon. Ask them what their day-to-day looks like. Ask them, just what kind of cool projects they're looking at. And so those are the types of questions that I encourage candidates to ask the business as they are kind of going through the interview process as well.
Yeah, great points. I think we have talked about this a little bit. Can you tell us a little bit about the work-life balance at Amazon? I know there are a lot of myths going on outside on the internet, and like there are just a lot of myths saying, oh, it's you don't really have a work-life balance at Amazon. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Absolutely. That's a great question because that's actually one of the bigger questions that I get almost when I talk to candidates. Because I don't know, I think Amazon has this perception out there that they're driving, their employees to the ground. There's no work-life balance. You're only working, right? Let me speak from my personal experience here at Amazon. I've been at Amazon for about 4.5 years. Throughout my entirety here at Amazon, I probably had about 5 different managers.
Mm-hmm.
Each one of the managers that I've worked with has always emphasized work-life balance.
Mm-hmm.
Whether that's them reaching out to me at the end of the month and saying, "Hey, Thomas, it looks like you have, some time left on your PTO. I want you to take that time off," right?
Yeah.
So it's not only is it encouraged, but they really want you to take that work-life balance. At the end of the day, nobody here is micromanaging you. Right.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the day, you're responsible. Your responsibility is to do your job, but at the same time, make sure you take that time for yourself as well.
Yes. Yeah.
I think right now in the situation and the current society that we live in, I don't think it's more emphasized more enough. I think now is more of a time to take time for yourself, take time for your family,
Mm-hmm.
to make sure that you're mentally staying healthy as well. As you are going through, these COVID situations or whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
But again, from my personal experience, it not only is it encouraged, but it's really pushed and emphasized to take that time off.
Great point.
Not only that, when I have these conversations with my hiring managers, one of the main things that they say as well is that, hey, if you need me to get on the phone with a candidate to explain to them what that's going to look like here on my team, I'm happy to do that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm always willing to have that conversation with the candidate. So hiring managers are always willing to jump on a call and make sure that they're aligned in terms of that as well. And so
Got it.
that's something that I offer candidates as well if they want to take advantage of that
Yeah.
as well.
That's exactly how I feel about working here at Amazon as well. So I actually have one last question left. So any advice for those who are applying to Amazon?
Yeah, my main advice to you is stay persistent. It takes time. If you apply to a role, you don't hear back in a week or two. Don't take that as they're not moving forward.
Mm-hmm.
There are, as you can imagine, hundreds and hundreds of candidates applying to each role, right? And so, stay patient, stay persistent. Is something I always like to tell candidates. But one thing I also like to do as well is connect with as many recruiters as you can. I don't see any negative in learning about different roles. Maybe it wasn't a role or a team that you're initially interested about, but maybe it's something that you never even knew about or never even considered because you might not have thought it was the right fit for what for your skill set or kind of what you've been doing in the past. And so, one advice is stay open. Keep your mind open. Stay open to different ideas, different roles. Because again, you may start with one role, but it may lead you to another role. And so stay persistent, stay open-minded, take all the calls you can, and always stay positive. Because again, if I could recommend anything, Amazon is a great place to work. And we're always looking for new talent, new people. And so
that's very good advice actually. I applied to multiple roles. Persistency, I think that is really the key. And being open is obviously another one. Thank you so much, Thomas. This was really, really helpful. And I'm pretty sure all the audience would be grateful for this information. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. And it was great chatting with you today. Thanks.